You can use Bitcoin literally anywhere in the world. There are countries, as I said earlier, that accept Bitcoin fully, like El Salvador. All right, just yesterday, there was a news from India that was February 1st, or let me say 31st, 9th of January. There was a meeting at their whatever parliamentarian or parliament houses, and they have declared Bitcoin as a legal tender. And that's not just it. There are about so far about 18 states in the United States that accept Bitcoin, and you can even pay your taxes in Bitcoin. There are countries like Germany where you can literally use Bitcoin for anything. Like those of you that had the opportunity to learn Bitcoin in the early days of its evolution, you realize the technology has been evolving in so many ways, and it continues to change form. Why? Because as a technology that was so new to a whole lot of people, like a decade ago or more than a decade ago, has evolved into something that today even institutionals are fighting for it. Session, the live session, we are going to record this, and of course everybody can watch it later. If you're on this show, welcome. And once again, it's our usual thing we do almost all the time. So technically what we are going to do today is to revisit what we did in the past at the one-on-one version of our meeting we had 2 weeks ago, which we did talk about understanding the ABC of Bitcoin and blockchain. Now, this is the online version of it. And as we have promised, any meeting or any program or any sort of session we have physically, we are going to host the virtual version so that those of you not in direct contact with us, like one-on-one, can get to constantly benefit from what we do. You're welcome. And if you have questions as I do the presentations, you might want to note it down. There's an interesting feature with Zoom that allows you to actually send text, and also you can write it down and you show it to me on your screen, and I will do what I need to do. My name is Nawaf, and I will be your host for today. So let's look at what Bitcoin literally is, or what Bitcoin has been. You can technically understand that Bitcoin continues to evolve. Those of you that had the opportunity to learn Bitcoin in the early days of its evolution, you realize the technology has been evolving in so many ways, and it continues to change form. Why? Because as a technology that was so new to a whole lot of people, like a decade ago or more than a decade ago, has evolved into something that today even institutionals are fighting for it. Yes, institutionals are fighting for it. So when we ask, like, what is Bitcoin? What are you going to say that Bitcoin really is? Everybody by now understand that Bitcoin is money, and blockchain happens to be the technology that is backing Bitcoin. Now, if you don't get the basics of Bitcoin and blockchain, it makes it very, very, literally very difficult for you to be able to co-join and also convert it into a standard that will make sense and also make it much more profitable for you. For the first time in human history, we have something in the world that communicates the very same language in terms of finance. And in terms of finance, we are talking about the whole world understanding and using the very same medium of money. And that money is what we call Bitcoin. Bitcoin wouldn't have been possible, or would never have been possible, provided there isn't any technology backing it. Now, blockchain happens to be the backbone of the technology Bitcoin, where for the first time, it is providing the first and also truly global financial market, and also an opportunity, a fair opportunity for everybody with just an internet connection to participate in global payment structures. So Bitcoin happens to be something that is replacing for us all our nations, our currencies, and we are all going to end up to speaking the same language in terms of currency. Now, nobody owns Bitcoin. Nobody owns Bitcoin. It is decentralized and happens to work on its own, but you can own a portion of Bitcoin. So nobody owns Bitcoin, yet you can own some Bitcoin. And it's something that a whole lot of people don't get to see. Now, if you really would want to see yourself enjoying the subject of Bitcoin, understanding money is literally also important. Like, if you don't understand what money really is or what money has been in the past years, it makes it very difficult for you to accept technologies like Bitcoin. And we have technologies that have evolved in the past trying to make money better, something like PayPal, something like Visa, something like, digital banking, where it used to not exist, but now it does exist. Now, blockchain is a whole package when it comes to technology, okay? It is a whole package itself, and it is not the internet. Blockchain can be blockchain even without the internet, but Bitcoin also can be money even without the existence of the internet. And these two technologies are free from all of whatever it is suspicions that we may have to, deal with. Now, how did it all get started? Somewhere in 2008, a group of individuals who call themselves Satoshi Nakamoto. Till date, we do not know who really is Satoshi, but it's an anonymous team or an individual or a group of individuals we do not know that came out with this whole technology, Bitcoin and blockchain technology. It's all started as an open source structure where everybody can participate with the transfer of value, like transfer of value from a decentralized location to yet another decentralized location. And to do that, you need a database, okay? A database that makes it safe for you to, do anything or transact with these particular, systems. And that has to be also at the same time secured and something that is not immutable. So the whole backbone, the data system or the data backend system of Bitcoin remains blockchain, and see blockchain more like an open book where everybody can technically write something into the open book, but you cannot remove it from it like that. So 2008, it all began as an interesting idea as to whether it was going to work or not. It all began and it's still going on till date. How great has it been in the past? I mean, we've had times for the past years where nations were rejecting technologies like Bitcoin, but saying blockchain was quite fascinating or quite interesting. And at the same time, the whole idea cannot be really an idea worth paying attention to without rejections. We've seen a whole lot of companies in the past rejecting and saying all sort of bad stuff about Bitcoin, including financial institutions like big corporations like the JP Morgan Chase. And today, they are the very same guys promoting this technology. Now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do the moment you feel there is a need for somebody to really accept or admit something that makes no sense to them, especially in its early stage? What is going to mean is that you have to force yourself to give the world access to something that is going to remain constantly unique, and they see the uniqueness in that particular product or service you render. And that we find all of this package into Bitcoin. Now, everybody, like I said, can participate or partake in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin literally remains a technology not for everybody. Not everybody can genuinely get to benefit from the Bitcoin opportunity or maybe the blockchain opportunity. There are still going to be institutionals, there are still going to be individuals that are going to constantly fight in as long as it remains a technology like so new to yet like the whole world. Now, why is it that we always have issues with things things that are backing evolutions, like when new ideas are being evoluting, we always have to consider how other industries have disrupted in the past and how easy it was for such a disruption to actually work. Let's have a look at maybe Western Union. Now, Western Union has been a very interesting part of our lives in the past and even in the present, where we have always been making a great use of it, like using it to the extent that those that have tasted education in the early 90s or in the early 2000s, you realize, or even in the early 80s, you could never apply to school abroad without using these gateways. But let's look at after the 2000s, I mean 2004, 2008, when technologies like somewhere 2004, when companies like Facebook started evolving to making the blockchain, or to making the internet a household. It made it so much more easier for us to communicate. The emailing, it started evolving, and I mean early in the 90s and the 80s, but not everybody was technically using it. Now, the moment something is going to be introduced, and for the first time, it is going to remain as something that not everybody has seen before, must be welcomed with some sort of fight and also rejection. And Bitcoin has seen lots of rejections in the past. And in this particular series, what we are going to be doing is to look at a whole lot of activities from the past of blockchain to the present and also to the future, including its price action, the technology action, the performances, and things with regulation and all of that. Now, in 2021, you realize there have been a full country, a country where you never expect that a president of a nation can technically say, hey, we are going full crypto. And for the first time in the world, our country is going to legalize technologies like Bitcoin, and is going to become a legal tender, where to the extent our reserves are going to be invested in this, yet again, a technology that maybe once a while, maybe a while ago was scary. I mean, if you got involved with Bitcoin early, you would attest to the fact that there have been times where even Bitcoin promoters have been called. There have been times where people that Bitcoin were believed to be like bad guys and like bad players with finance, where the banks, the government, and everybody in every sector that makes it possible to reject the technology says so. Now, what can you see the moment you pay attention to rejection coming into an ecosystem? You just have to understand that, hey, maybe technically this is disrupting a field that is so important to many people. Like what is so important? It could be education, it could be health, it could be anything. But for the first time in human history, in 2008, this particular disruption was disrupting the finance sector, where it is going to make the banking system redundant. It is going to, bring out the loopholes in the banking system, some of the issues, and the fact that banking is not for everybody. Today, you can, if you're going to accept that this is a truth, we will all agree, or at some point disagree to agree, that the number of smartphone users in the world today are more than the number of people or the elites in the world that have a bank account. And nobody can say a thing or two against this. Like, it's so common for you to have somebody, regardless of their educational, whatever they've been through, their work standard, where they are coming from, their nature, their tribe, their race, or anything like you can consider. Everybody can just punch in and start using a smartphone. Thanks to the internet, they can also connect to the world. But not everybody have a bank account. Like in this 21st century, or let me say 22nd century, you will still have people that do not have a bank account. And even now, banking don't make sense anymore because you don't know why you are going to do banking. If there is a technology that makes you your own bank or gives you the platform to becoming your own bank. Right. So if a technology is evolving and for the first time we are saying it is targeting and also disrupting the finance sector, then it means it must have and also preserve the features of money. And we should see money or applicable in this particular technology. So that's how come Bitcoin became the first currency application of money on top of the blockchain technology. And those of you that joined minutes later or whatever, you can have access to the meeting over again once we have once we get to upload it on our channels. Right. Now, what are some of the things you can do with Bitcoin? Let's look at the use cases of Bitcoin and blockchain. Well, you can use today in 2022, January, whatever, February or something, like you can use Bitcoin literally anywhere in the world. There are countries, as I said earlier, that accept Bitcoin fully, like El Salvador. All right. Just yesterday, there was a news from India that was February 1st, or let me say 31st, night of January. There was a meeting at their whatever parliamentarian or parliament houses, and they have declared Bitcoin as a legal tender. And that's not just it. There are about so far about 18 states in the United States that accept Bitcoin, and you can even pay your taxes in Bitcoin. There are countries like Germany where you can literally use Bitcoin for anything, like is it hotel, is it school fees, is it feeding, is it hospitals, is it transport, whatever it is you can think of, you can use your, maybe whatever it is you see possibility using your Ghana city for, you can do this with Bitcoin anywhere in the world. And the same applies to blockchain. Blockchain is being used in many industries, including the agriculture industry, the transport industry, the traffic lighting system, like for governance, for voting, for document immutability, where you can write a full contract on a smart chain, or let me say a smart blockchain, and at the end of the day, this contract remains there for life until you don't want it to be there. And even if you don't want it to be there, there is nothing you can do to remove it, as it will constantly remain immutable. Right. Now, there are companies that are just working fully on blockchain, enterprising it to the level where you would never expect it could be possible, and it is possible today. And there are also countries that are fighting and resisting, like Africa here, and it's because of the lack of knowledge. Technically, they don't even know, understand this technology, so they will need time to really talk about it or whatever. And there are nations like China who are saying, okay, we think blockchain is fascinating. Blockchain is interesting. Okay, we are going to use blockchain, but we are not going to use Bitcoin as like something that is going to replace our traditional currency. And they do that with reasons that make sense, because they have to preserve their valuable currencies, which we all know one way or the other, the Bitcoin standard is going to replace all of this, right? So aside that too, there are the investment use cases where it has opened itself to a complete ecosystem. It has introduced a whole new ecosystem around finance, where the world is participating in the finance aspect of Bitcoin and blockchain globally. There are lots of cryptocurrencies out there. You could visit eBitcoinics.com, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, CoinStars, just to check out the number of coins that are out there today. And you'll be so glad you did. Now, this whole ecosystem, if you permit me, I would want to share my screen for just 2 minutes on that regard, so that you get to see some of the currency applications of Bitcoin, or what Bitcoin has been literally doing. So we go to, let's say, let me open a browser. Just open a browser here. Okay. So right. So we go to CoinMarketCap, and you get to see there are lots and lots of innovations immediately after Bitcoin, and all of them are kind of solving particular problems or whatsoever. And one thing about this technology is the fact that almost every time, the moment somebody wants to make the time and get to learn something about the technology, they may have already made their searches or gathered their own information, and everybody always have a question to ask. Now, today we have over 17,000 cryptocurrencies out there, and that gives birth to like a market over $1.7 trillion in valuation and over $62 billion being traded in this particular market every 24 hours. And that, my friend, is amazing. Like the 17,000, aside Bitcoin, you can find technologies or cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, Binance or BNB, Solana, Terra, Polkadot, Shiba, whatever, like, and not all of these cryptocurrencies are genuinely created. Some of them are for the purpose of fun, for the purpose of playing games, for the purpose of writing contracts that represent an entity, or maybe backing an exchange, or maybe solving particular problems, or whatever it is that has to do with the ecosystem around it. So you have to make sure before you even participate with any technology or any crypto out there, you are very sure of what problem they are particularly going to solve for us, or what they are looking at solving for the entire ecosystem. And that continues till you can ever decide where you want to end it. And there are going to be constantly new evolution. Right now, we are dealing with even understanding Bitcoin, with still trying to understand blockchain. And there are evolutions that are evolving already on top of this very same ecosystem, where today we are migrating from Web 2.0, moving towards Web 3.0, where everything is going to be signaturized. And also we are talking about non-fungible tokens, NFTs, like the evolvement of the metaverse, evolvement, a whole lot of things that literally don't even make sense to all of us. And we are going to see ourselves explaining all of these stuff alongside. Just not to waste so much time in a webinar, I would like to start taking questions from you guys as well. If you have a question, you just raise your hand, I'll unmute you, or maybe you can just text the question. I give it an answer if I can, and if I can't, we just call it a day so that we don't get to spend so much time, as we are going to still meet again in the next 2 weeks and then continue with this session over and over again. If you have questions, you let me know. So we have about, let me say, 8 or 9 participants on this meeting. And like I said, immediately after this session, we are going to have it uploaded live on our channel, on our YouTube channel. And those of you that were not around can always watch this over and over again. And if you watch this and you happen to have any question, you write it down. In the next 2 weeks, we are going to have another virtual session, and then you can be a part of it. So if you have any question related to Bitcoin, blockchain, or anything, you just text it or you raise your hand. I'll mute you, and then you can ask your questions for the next 2-3 minutes.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Your name and your question, please.
Okay, so I'm Kofi Safo.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically on a layman's term, can you actually give me a layman's explanation of blockchain? Since I'm new to all this kind of technology, but I find it interesting to join. Just a layman's definition or explanation on blockchain.
Okay, so see blockchain more as a notebook. Okay, so let's say blockchain is that notebook you use in writing or taking account of whatever information you have. So let's say this particular notebook is, if I can have any book, can anybody throw me a book? Yes, just a quick one, a book. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. Now, see this as a blockchain. Okay, this is a blockchain, and all of us in the world are going to write information here into this blockchain. Okay, so we are going to communicate in this particular book, a blockchain. But for the first time in the history of mankind, when we write or distribute information in this particular book, and let's say the participating members are about 10 or 5, this book will particularly duplicate itself 5 times. It means we are going to have 5 more of this book in the hands of these 5 people or 5 individuals. Then, assuming we write A, assuming we write, let's say, A, and then we add B, and then we add C. This is real time, okay? It's mathematical and it's technologically sometimes confusing. Forgive me, but you have to understand this like that. As at the time I was writing the ABC, all of the participating members, the other 5 or the other 4, they are going to see ABC in their book real time, not more than a second, not less than a millisecond, like real time. As I am writing, like I'm going to write again. Let's say A, B, C. It enters that data, goes into this particular database at the same time. Okay. And this book is immutable. Immutable as in the sense that I cannot remove a page. Like I said, this is just a book. It is not a blockchain. But if it is a blockchain, the moment I try to remove a page, error message will pop out, which means you can't remove a page from this book. And if I want to forcefully remove a page from this book, what I need to do is to make sure I have all the participating members, let's say 5 or 10 or 20 of us. And within a millisecond, I should be able to pull that particular sheet the same time, the same second, not more than 1, not more than 2, from all of the books, technically, like the same time, present moment, which is impossible. You get that? So the blockchain is a household that takes record, and this record are immutable records. Like the moment a data enters the blockchain, nobody can alter or change anything in that data or that database or the book itself. You understand? So therefore, it is the first transparent notebook the world has ever had. And Bitcoin is the currency application of this. So if I want to communicate a language with you and also send value from one blockchain to another, the currency application of it becomes Bitcoin. Did I answer your question? Hello, Mr. Safo, did I answer your question?
Yes, please, you did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Welcome. And I see somebody with Dell sending a direct message, but the message is still typing. Anybody has a question? Like, let's take one more question or 2, then we call it a day. We see you next week. Oh, sorry, in the next 2 weeks, and then we continue with the session. Any more questions? So this particular book, blockchain, is not fraud friendly. That's why governments don't like it. Governments don't want people to have access to information. Like they have to make the decision alone, and they have to present the decision to you as a final. So any more questions, please? Your questions? If you are confused, like if you are just joining a meeting to learn about Bitcoin or blockchain for the first time, don't worry. It is okay not to understand what we are talking about, but it is not okay for you to miss the next session and also the next session and also the next session. You can join the next ones, ask your questions, keep reading, and one day it is going to make sense. So then we call it a day.
This is very pretty. Very pretty. Yes. I love it for the way, you know.
One more question. Okay, so since and it seems everything that we asked makes sense. And coupled with the fact that SAP4 it means the is also engaging. See you next week. Oh, sorry, see you in the next 2 weeks for the next event. And then if you have friends or families that are so interested in learning about blockchain or Bitcoin, just push them to eBitcoinics.com. Let them get in touch with us. We are going to give them at no price at all. We want everybody in Ghana, in the world, to partake in this technology heavily. There are a whole lot of opportunities popping out. And now understanding the basics, you are not going to advance version of it. Thank you so much for your time. And see you in the next week. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.